Yo, 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 yo. All right, guys. We're going to start looking at solving equations with rational numbers. So this is just part one. And here's some key terms. LCM and LCD. This is lowest common multiple and least common denominator. Okay, so the least common multiple or lowest common multiple is the smallest common multiple for two or more numbers. And that's really what we're going to be looking at quite a bit today. So, I'm going to move these over here. There we go. I like that better. So what we're going to be looking at is equations that have fractions. Okay. Now, I know that right away fractions give a lot of people anxiety. We don't like fractions, or we struggle with fractions for whatever reason. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at a trick to get rid of the fractions in the equation. So this does require one extra step, but then there will be no more fractions, and then we get to solve the equations with whole numbers just like normal. So what we do is we look at all of the denominators of the fractions. So I look at all three of my denominators in this one. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the lowest common multiple of these denominators, or what's going to be really a common denominator for them. So what is the lowest common multiple? So if I look at 2, 5, and 10, I'm looking at what number is a common multiple, or what would be a common denominator. Well, the common denominator for these three would be 10, because I can multiply 2 by 5 to get to 10, and I can multiply 5 by 2 to get to 10, and then 10 is 10. So my common denominator, or my common multiple, is 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to multiply each and every single, that was really bad handwriting, sorry guys. My pen's being a little weird today where my slate's not very accurate. I'm going to multiply, that's just as bad, every single one of these fractions by that common denominator, or by that lowest common multiple. So I'm going to multiply every single one of these by 10. Because with equations, we can really multiply whatever we want by whatever numbers we want. We're allowed to do that as long as we do it on both sides and we do it to every single term. So because I'm going to multiply all these fractions by 10, I have to multiply every single number by 10, so it means I have to multiply this 2 by 10. So what I'm doing is I'm multiplying, I picked the lowest common denominator, which is 10, and now I'm multiplying every single term in this equation by 10. Because whatever I do on one side, I do on the other side, so I'm allowed to multiply by whatever I want. So now when I do that, I actually have to do this multiplication. So this is like 10 over 1. Well, 10 times 7 is 70. 1 times 10 is 10. So that's 70 over 10n. Well, 70 over 10 is just 7. So that becomes 7n. Well, that's going to add with, let's see, this is 3 times 10, which is 30, and then that's over 2, because the denominator is not changing for each of these, because I'm just multiplying everything by 10 over 1. 3 times 10 is 30 over 5 n plus, and this is 2 times 10, which is 20. So what I did is I multiplied all my numerators by 10, and I multiplied this whole number by 10. So I did change my equation a little bit. But now if I look, 70 over 10 is 7n. 30 over 2 is 15. 30 over 5 is 6. And then I bring down my positive 20 because I don't have to simplify that. So this equation right here is the same thing as this equation. But what I did is I got rid of all of my fractions. They're all gone. And now I get to solve this equation the way we were solving equations in 7.1, or we were solving equations for the last week and a half. I get to move over the smallest of the two, so I'm going to subtract 6n from both sides. That makes n plus 15 equals, well that cancels, I have positive 20, so I get to subtract 15 from both sides. And I didn't have to do any operations with any fractions, and I just got n equals 5. So for this equation, the solution is n equals 5. And I was able to do that by not really doing any work with the fractions. But if I multiply by a lowest common multiple, then I was able to get rid of all of my fractions and then do some simplifying real quick. But then I'd be done. Okay, so with fractions, our goal is just to get rid of it by multiplying by the lowest common multiple or lowest common denominator. Okay, I'm going to move this up a little bit. Let's do something like this. There we go. Okay, so again, let's go look at this one together. I have two fractions. I don't like fractions, so let's try to get rid of them. So I'm looking at the denominators. They're both 7, and then I have a whole number and a whole number, so that's nice. So I just need to multiply by the lowest, by the common denominator. Well, the common denominator here is 7. So I'm going to multiply every single term in this equation by 7. I have to multiply everything. So there's 4 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have to multiply by 7 4 times. Well, let's see here. So this is going to be 7 over 7k minus 6 times 7 is 42 equals 3 times 7 is 21. So remember, we're just multiplying the numerator, it's funny. Just multiplying the numerator, the denominator stays the same. And then that's plus 28. And then 7 over 7 is just 1. So that's just going to give me k minus 42. 21 over 7 is 3. That's 3k plus 28. So this fraction equation just really becomes this. And this is a lot easier to work with. So I can subtract k from both sides. Because now this is the part where I'm going to go a little bit quick through, because this is the stuff we should already know how to do. Subtract 28 from both sides. I'm going to move up here real quick. That gives me negative 60, 70. That's bad mental math by Gradius, but at least I caught it. And that's 2k. So when I divide by 2, I get negative 35. And there's my solution. So I multiplied everything by 7 because they have the same denominator, which makes it really easy. Okay. I think here's all I really want you to focus on for this one. I just want you to focus on figuring out what do I need to multiply all of this by, and see if you can do that. Maybe you don't have to solve it, but to see if you can multiply all of these by a common denominator. Okay, it's not going to be 6 on this one. I can tell you that right now, because if 4 and 6 are not a common, I cannot multiply 4 by something to get to 6. I can't multiply everything by 6. That's not my common denominator here. Okay, so always start with the largest denominator, figure out what are all the factors of that, are the multiples of that denominator. So 6, 12, 18, 24, and I'm looking at these numbers. So what I did is these are my multiples of 6, and I'm figuring out, all right, well 2 and 4, which one does 2 and 4 go into evenly? Okay, which is 12. So multiply everything in this one by 12, and then rewrite it, and then see what you got. So pause it, multiply everything, all 4 values by 12, and then go from there. So I'm multiplying everything by 12. I'm going to show you a shortcut when multiplying. So whenever we multiply, we know that the denominator is going to go away. So we can actually cross simplify instead of rewriting it. So instead of doing 12 times 5 is 60 over 6, which is 10. Instead of doing this is 2 steps, I can do it all in one by cross simplifying right here. So what I mean by that is 6 and 12, I can simplify just these two. 6 goes into 12 twice. That becomes a 1, that becomes a 2. 2 times 5 is 10. So that's another way to do this. That's when we cross simplify. 1 times 12 is 12. Let's see, 2 and 12. Well, 2 goes into 12 6 times, so that's a 1. That's a 6. Negative 1 times 6 is negative 6. Keep the y. 4 goes into 12 3 times. 1 times 3 is 3. So this is what you should have ended up with. Now, if you chose to do it a little bit differently, that's fine. If you chose to make this 60 over 6y plus 12 equals, let's see here, that would have been negative 12. Well, my pen's being weird, guys, I'm sorry. Negative 12 over 2y. And then let's see, we would have had plus 12 over 4. So if you chose to go this route, that's great. Like, this works, because then this all simplifies to this. So I just did it by cross simplifying. All right, and now from here, we should be able to solve our equation. I'm going to add 6y to keep everything positive. So that's going to give me 16y plus 12. Oh, excuse me. That's all equal to 3. Okay, minus 12 on both sides. Okay. That's going to give me 16y equals -9. So when I divide by 16, I'm just going to leave my answer as, see how this is a fraction? That's why I show my work. Since I'm showing my work and all my answers are in fractions, I'm just going to leave it as -9/16, and I'm done. It's okay to get a fraction for an answer. That's fine. But because I show that my division, these canceled, I show the division. This is a fraction. And I can't do 9 divided by 16 evenly. And so I know it's a fraction for an answer, so I'm just going to leave it as the fraction, and I'm done. Now you could divide and change it to a decimal. There's just no reason to do that. Okay, so you guys have, let's see, one more. I think this is the last one, right? Yeah, last one. Try this problem on your own. And really, we're really focused on just getting rid of that, getting rid of our fractions in the beginning. So let's go ahead and multiply by the lowest common multiple, or lowest least common denominator, to get rid of all of our fractions first. Now we got a lot of terms here, and that's fine, but let's multiply everything by that common denominator, and then let's get rid of the fractions. So when I look at 2, 3, 6, my common denominator is 6. So I'm going to multiply everything by 6. Every single term. So I got to multiply by 6 5 times. Okay. Now, this becomes 2 and 6, because 2 times 3 is 6. That becomes a 3. So 3 times 1, that's 3x. That's minus 30. Plus, that becomes 4x. 6's cancel each other out, so that's a stays at 7x. So this is what you should have gotten to. Now again, you could have just multiplied all the numerators by 6 and then done your division afterwards, and you still would have gotten to the exact same thing. Notice how the signs all stayed the same, but now I don't have any fractions. So now when I want to do it, but I notice, here's my equal sign, right? I notice the right side is just 7x plus 24, but I have 2 different x's on the left side, so I'm actually going to combine these. 3x and 4x make 7x. So I have 7x minus 30 equals 7x plus 24, and I got to get to the same side. So I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides, but they cancel on both sides. So I'm left with negative 30 equals positive 24. That does not make sense. That is not true. All my x's are gone. That means that I have no solution. Okay. So, things to remember. Get rid of the fractions. By multiplying everything by a common denominator. And again, sorry, everything's super weird with my slate, so sorry if that's hard to read. Okay, but get rid of fractions by multiplying everything by a common denominator. Here's your practice. I want you to definitely try it out, see how you do. If you have any questions, you gotta let me know. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Good to see us out.